Usopp versus Doflamingo is Usopp wins, okay? It's a low diff fight, and I'm using him to prove why all of the Straw Hats can defeat Dofi, since he is the weakest. To start off, Doflamingo barely scales to Gear 4 Dressrosa Luffy, and while he was weakened, Gear 4 just outclasses him in every way. Speed, power, durability, the only thing that Dofi has over Luffy at this point is endurance. Even so, Luffy gets stronger throughout the Whole Cake arc, which is before he completely surpasses his previous Gear 4th form in his fight with Katakuri. This now means that base Luffy can body Doflamingo, and Katakuri can as well, so there's your answer to that. But then, Luffy surpasses his previous Gear 4th again in Wano. As we know, Ulti presses this same Luffy, which puts her above the Gear 4th in Whole Cake. And if you want to argue with me about Ulti not being that strong, then go to this video right here because I explain it way better there. Anyways, Usopp isn't actually able to beat Ulti, but he is able to survive a named attack from her. The same named attack that she pressed Luffy with. A few of his attacks are able to do some type of damage to the Tobiropo as well, such as firework flowers or exploding pine cones. So even if Usopp isn't above the Gear 4th in Whole Cake, he should still be somewhere around that level, which would put him above Dofi. Let me just lay out the scaling once more. Doflamingo is barely relative to Gear 4th in Dressrosa, which gets completely surpassed by base Luffy in Whole Cake. Whole Cake Luffy then goes Gear 4th again, which gets surpassed by base Luffy in Wano. Ulti is comparable to this Luffy, who Usopp can take hits from. So by that logic, Usopp isn't necessarily above the Gear 4th in Whole Cake, but he should still be somewhere above base Luffy at that point. Moving into the counter arguments, there are those who say that Dofi is too versatile for Usopp, and his abilities would carry him. However, if Doflamingo is getting speed blitzed by Gear 4 in Dressrosa, and Usopp is above this, what is he going to do? Some may also bring up the fact that Doflamingo has all three types of haki, but we know that characters without haki can beat characters with it. One of the arguments I brought up in my Katakuri video was the narrative aspect of how it makes no sense for Katakuri to be that weak. But can you even make the same claim for Doflamingo? Why does he, of all people, need to be powerful? Why can't Luffy's commanders just surpass him like in every other Yonko crew? Speaking of the Yonko, there's another argument in favor of Katakuri, the power imbalance argument. Basically just saying that Katakuri can't be weaker than Ulti because then Kaido's crew would be too strong. I already debunked that claim, and again, you can't even make the same argument for Doflamingo. He's just a broker, he doesn't need to be individually powerful, besides defending himself. Even then, he doesn't need to do that because of how politically powerful he is. In fact, Doflamingo was probably the most important figure in the pirating world, maybe even the world at large. But like, on some be for real shit, if Big Mom, the weakest emperor with the weakest commanders, sent Cracker and like 1,000 men to Dressrosa, somebody gon' box, and it's not looking good for this guy. Now obviously this is only in a vacuum, because if Big Mom did do that, then Kaido would send Jack, who would solo all of the forces I just mentioned. But you see what I'm saying though? Doflamingo was so well off because of his connections and ties. If he was just like any other pirate, then he would get smited by the weakest commanders. And he knows this too. So all in all, who is to say that Usopp cannot whoop his ass? That's it folks, I'll see you next week.